What is going on, my nerd and nerdettes? We are back with another video, and today we're going to be going over Stranger Things Volume 1 from Season 5. So let's get into that. The time has finally come after a long and grueling wait for Season 5. We have finally got the first 4 episodes for our viewing pleasures at our homes to see of Stranger Things Season 5, and we're going to get into everything from there, my thoughts, my predictions, a little bit of spoilers here and there, kind of break down each individual episode, some of the best parts, things that I didn't really like too much, and pretty much just discuss all things Stranger Things. I've been pretty much a Stranger Things fan from day one. My teacher in high school showed us the first episode in a class that we weren't really doing too much, and ever since then I was absolutely hooked, and just such a great introduction to this world, such a like nice horror episode or nice horror show that you can show like younger kids to kind of get them into horror. And you just have really great characters, really fun, funny, whimsical things going on. Of course, the whole show is kind of revolved Dungeons and Dragons, which I do play as an adult more so than I did when I was a kid. I never played Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, and I got more into it now. And then rewatching Stranger Things throughout the years, you kind of get a little bit of the references a little bit more, so it makes it a little more fun for someone that watches or plays Dungeons and Dragons as well. But with that being said, I do want to go ahead and go over overall what I think about the show or season 5 so far, trying to stay away from spoilers in this first couple of minutes, and then we'll go a little bit more into spoilers and kind of break down each individual episode, kind of what's going on, and my kind of go over my predictions and what I think is going to happen in the next coming episodes. Before I go over my thoughts about Stranger Things season 5, let me know what you guys think about it so far in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about the show as a whole? As a whole, have you guys always ever been a fan of Stranger Things, or are you more recently getting into it and you binge watch all the seasons before season 5 came out because you knew this was going to be a cultural phenomenon? Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. Also, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you guys like content like this, and I'll continue putting out more content like this for your viewing pleasure. But let's go ahead and go over my overall thoughts of the first 4 episodes. Now, I absolutely love it. As a whole, overall, I think it's some of the best Stranger Things that we have gotten so far. There's obviously things here and there that I think could be improved on, mainly on dialogue and certain conveniences that kind of happen here and there. But I think as a whole, it has been absolutely fun. I think the Demogorgons have been the most vicious they've ever been in this entire show. I absolutely love what they're doing with the Demogorgons and their teleporting powers and how they're getting from place to place. Absolutely amazing. I think character developments amongst everybody is absolutely fantastic, especially someone like, especially someone like Will, who I think in the first 4 seasons has been very, just very set back, very standoffish, doesn't really speak up for himself. And we're seeing such a huge character growth from him in this season that I absolutely love. I love what they're doing with this character. He's not that kind of background character where he feels kind of like a nuisance and always like whining and crying about things that people have complained about in previous seasons. He seems like the front man. He seems like the one leading the pack. He has grown so much and has so much character development that I absolutely love what they're doing with this character in this season. And even amongst all the other ones as well, like someone like Mike, who I felt like Mike was being a bad friend to Will in certain seasons. I think he's doing a fantastic job of kind of reigniting their friendship and being his best friend again, and encouraging Will to be who he needs to be to help in this kind of situation that we're in here. And then again, just everybody around, I think character work, everybody is doing absolutely amazing. We have a very fun, crazy story here of us trying to infiltrate where Vecna is and going through the upside down and finding new things and things that have been discovered, and, you know, army bases and things like that that have been pretty wild overall. But I think as a whole, in these first 4 episodes, there has been a lot of good. The negatives are going to be stuff like dialogue. I feel like some dialogue felt a little weird and wonky and off, where not even so much the words itself, but the way it gets delivered feels a little awkward and weird, which is strange for something that's been in development for this long, that we still have lines that feel like not authentic. So that's a little unfortunate in certain sequences like that. It doesn't happen too much, but when it does happen, it's pretty blatantly obvious and feels, you know, out of nowhere, and could take you off a little bit. I don't know if everybody feels that way, but personally for me, That's something that I caught a lot throughout the first 4 episodes, where certain lines delivered by like Will or Joyce or like Nancy, they all kind of felt a little weird at certain times and didn't feel like they were in the emotional beats that we were in that story plot point at that moment. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of spoilers. We're going to go episode by episode breakdown of what I think is going on, or what is going on and what I think is going to happen. So for anybody who hasn't seen the show up until this point, click off, come back, join the conversation. This is your official spoiler warning. Now, episode 1, I think, was a decent starter to this to the season. A little bit slower, kind of recatching up with all of our gang here, seeing what their plan is, what they're doing. I thought that we were going to come in gun ho and absolutely just running through the Upside Down, but it did take a little bit of a slower pace, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I do wish we were a little bit more on the edge. I did feel like we were kind of taking things a little slow here. But basically what is going on is they are setting up a plan, and it seems like they've been doing this for the past, whoever knows how long, about a year or so, where they're sending Hopper into this government base, that they have a portal that they open up every once in a while to send shipments and trucks in. He hides in there, and they're going block by block, essentially, in the Upside Down, trying to see if they can find Vecna's hideout. And he ends up getting kind of stuck in there, and now they're trying to figure out how to get him out. And I'm gonna be kind of clicking through the episode because I mean it is a lot to kind of remember. But that is essentially what is happening here. You also do have kind of like a little subplot with Dustin as well, where he is still mourning, of course, Eddie, and him being kind of bullied at school and stuff like that, and him not kind of taking shit. Where Dustin feels like his character growth kind of went backwards, where he feels more like for lack of better words, more of a dickhead, but I mean, more closed off as well. But you can understand, he was very, very close to Eddie, and in his eyes, it feels like no one else is affected to the level that he was. So he feels like he's kind of an outcast and a loner when it comes to his like mourning of Eddie's lost. So I can kind of understand that, but he does feel a little more standoffish and kind of being a little more mean to like Steve, and more mean to like Mike and Lucas, and feels like he's kind of going on his own. Luckily, that's not the case, but he does end up going missing for a little bit in this episode, as people in school kind of bully him and beat him up, and he doesn't show up for the crawl, as they call it, to do this whole little mission of sending Hopper into the Upside Down. So overall, I feel like that's kind of where this episode really feels like it didn't do much. I understood what they were trying to do, but we didn't get too much into the action. We didn't really get too much information going into the Upside Down. The plan kind of felt like it failed because Dustin wasn't around, and they didn't really know how to pivot, and they ended up just kind of figuring out that someone else can do Dustin's job, but it didn't turn out as we hoped, and that's why Hopper kind of gets stuck in the Upside Down here. You have like a big training sequence with Eleven, where she's trying to up her powers and become faster and become a little bit stronger. We see her kind of display new powers here as well. So overall, I think as a first episode, it was decent, a decent starter, but a little lackluster for a very long wait for a season opener. I was expecting a little bit more, but I did enjoy all the characters and where we're kind of heading, and the things that we set up, and the ending of this episode was absolutely amazing. We're seeing the Demogorgon come through a portal that he creates. Such a fantastic visual, and that leads us into episode 2. Now with episode 2, this is the vanishing of Holly, and we pick up right off where we left off, where the Demogorgon is chasing her through the house. Super, super amazing visuals with the Demogorgon. I think they, like I said kind of earlier in this video, that they've done some of the best work with the Demogorgons they've ever done. And throughout this little chase sequence in their house, we do see that Nancy's mother and father get absolutely injured and cut up and bruised and hurt by the Demogorgon, and they both end up being hospitalized, kind of really on the brink of death. And I thought they were really just going to kill them off and just start off heavy. Luckily, they're kind of just being hospitalized, and hopefully they do survive. We don't really see too much of the dad from here on out. We see him get hurt, and all we know is that they're in critical condition, but we haven't seen the dad ever since we see his injury fighting the Demogorgon. So that's a little strange. I'm not sure where they're going to go with that, if there's going to end up him kind of not making it through that critical condition, or is he just going to come back, since he's not really like an essential character. Overall, he seems to be kind of more of a background character always. and kind of just lingering in the family and the household and stuff like that. So I guess it's not really that big of a major point that he hasn't been shown, but I do find that a little strange. We haven't seen him since he has been hurt by the Demogorgon. And then at this point, too, because they got there just in time, Elle was able to get through a portal the Demogorgon made and go into the Upside Down, searching for Holly, and hopefully can also find Hopper as he's been stuck in there as well. They do end up kind of finding each other, Hopper and Elle, and they kind of just walk around, sneak around, trying to see what is going on, where the convoy of the army is going, what they're doing, see if they can find Vecna, if they can feel Vecna's powers or sense them around. And they end up stumbling amongst this ginormous wall that's like very fleshy, that seemingly is protecting a specific area. And they kind of starting to figure out that that's kind of maybe where Holly might be hiding. And this wall is kind of protecting Vecna and his base. And that's why they can't sense him all the time or lose connection with him throughout them trying to search for him, because he is going behind this wall that they seemingly can't get through. Super thick wall. It's not easily to break through. 11 uses her powers and she can barely make a dent in it. So obviously a very powerful thing that Vecna kind of put up as like a force field. And so we're starting to learn a little bit more about what is going on in the Upside Down and what Vecna is doing and what he can accomplish with how powerful he has become since we last saw him in season 4. Also at this point that we do start to figure out that Vecna has been speaking to a lot of kids in town, going by the personality as Mr. Whatsit, and he has been speaking to Holly through some sort of visions or in her mind, and basically telling her that monsters are going to come get her, and making her believe that Henry is the good guy. So when the Demogorgon takes her, he is the one kind of like saving her and taking her to a safe space, which we obviously all know that is not the case. He is the bad guy here in this show. So that is something that we started to learn, that Mr. Whatsit is Henry, aka Vecna, and he is using his powers to get into the mind of all these kids in Hawkins to try to collect them for whatever means that he needs them for. We're not too sure yet what he's using these kids for at this point. We get a little glimpse of it towards the 4th episode, but at this point we just realize that he is wanting to grab a bunch of kids from Hawkins for his own sinister purposes. So that is something that we do learn in this episode as well. But overall, I do think this episode was probably the weakest out of them. I think the action and the visuals were a little bit better than episode 1, but this one definitely felt like we don't know exactly where we're going yet. Kind of a little bit more of meandering, kind of being in the hospital, trying to figure out who Mr. Whatsit is. Pretty much just Hobbs and Elle walking around the Upside Down and stumbling upon this wall. We didn't really make any major forward process besides the fact figuring out that Vecna is using his powers to kind of get into the mind of these kids, and that Will can kind of tap into the hive mind and see through the eyes of Vecna. That is really the only forward process that we get in this episode. So even though the action was fun, you have really good visuals, great like gory moments or just really awesome things going on, overall as a plot point episode, it did feel like one of the weaker ones. It felt like we were kind of meandering and kind of just walking around for no reason and not really having a proper plan to move this plot forward at this point. And I think episode 3 has picked up the pace a little bit more again. We see the military kind of surrounding Hobbs and 11, and they seemingly have a weapon that is able to stop Elle, and by using some sort of like radio waves or sound waves to suppress her powers, because it just basically gives her this like huge headache and she cannot basically do anything. She's for the most part incapacitated and is unable to use her power. So they figured out a way to stop Elle in her tracks with this little device that they have created. But we do get a soldier captured. We interrogate him and we find out that they are hiding someone in this base in the Upside Down that is seemingly extremely powerful, and 11 believes that it's Vecna. I never thought that from the beginning. I absolutely knew that it shouldn't have been Vecna, because if it was Vecna and they captured him somehow, they would have found out a way to suppress his powers, found out a way to either use his powers against him or use them for his own benefit. If he was the one in the base captured, I never really felt that he would be able to tap into the mind of all these kids and take them and bring them to this like happy place that he's trying to show him. It just didn't make sense that Vecna for me was in that vault. It was obviously going to be someone else. Who that person was, I did not know. We do get a reveal later on, but at that moment when she said that she thought they had Vecna in holding, I never really bought that. I've always thought that it was going to be someone else. But we do learn that they have someone in this base, and that's what leads them to go to the base thinking that Vecna's in there to try to break in and see what they can do and hopefully try to stop this once and for all. Obviously, things don't go as planned because they have more of these like radio waves weaponized throughout the entire base, and they kind of end up capturing 11 and Hopper for a second. And we do get a big reveal later on that we'll talk about, but that is pretty much what they're going about to do in the future, is infiltrate this this base and see who is in that vault. But at the same time, we are having another side plot with the other characters on the other side, where they have figured out who Vecna's next target is, and they go full crazy psycho and basically drug an entire family to take them to a barn so Vecna cannot figure out where they are. And you have this really awesome, cool Home Alone style moment where they set up this entire house with traps and wires and bob wires, and they have their shotguns and all these different things to capture a Demogorgon, to put a tracker on him so they can see if they can track him all the way through the Upside Down and figure out where Vecna is hiding or where they are trying to take these kids at least. And so that was a absolutely fun, epic moment. Super great seeing the entire gang pretty much work together to try to capture this Demogorgon and save this family, even though they're doing some pretty crazy things by drugging and kidnapping an entire family to keep them safe, which I think is also kind of funny as well, how that whole thing really plays out. But that is also basically what is going on. They're trying to figure out who's Vecna's next target is and seeing if they can figure out a pattern. And we end up getting a moment where they want to follow the Demogorgon into the Upside Down. So Steve, Jonathan, Nancy, and Dustin follow Demogorgon into the Upside Down, and now they are in the Upside Down trapped as well with Elle and Hopper, and are trying to figure out a way to get out or find a way in to the giant wall, which is basically a ginormous sphere around this specific area that Vecna has created. So all that is going on, and so now we are starting to see things kind of move forward. The plot is moving forward. We're starting to see what we are moving towards and how we're going to kind of hone in on Vecna and kind of get a little bit closer and really circle in on him and see if there is a way to get into his little base and defeat him and save all the little kids that he has taken so far. So that was a very fun episode. I think this episode definitely was a huge step up from episode 2. And so I was having a lot of fun with this one. Still certain things here and there where I felt like there's certain conveniences, like the way they drugged this entire family was a very convenient way, where they Erica just brought him a pie that was drugged and everybody ate it. They all got knocked out except for one, and she had to basically stab her in the neck with a needle with the drugs. So kind of a convenient thing, I feel like that wouldn't happen so easily, but it still makes for a fun little sequence. And I think overall they're doing a great job of kind of moving this plot forward in a kind of seemingly natural way as best as they possibly can. Now, episode 4 is by far the best episode so far of season 5. And basically what we have here is they want to break into the military base to save all the kids that the military has been taking from the town, going house by house into the school, taking them all one by one to do whatever they're going to do with them. They say they're trying to keep them safe, but who knows? It seems like they're going to be using them as bait to get Vecna. But the gang does not really want that to happen because they really don't know what their true intentions are with all these kids. So they start to make a plan to dig underneath the base and sneak each individual kid out one by one that has been affected some way by Mr. Whatsit, so they can they can know exactly who is the target that Vecna is going after. And I already spoke about it a little bit, kind of got a little ahead of myself when I was speaking about episode 3, but this is the moment where Elle and Hopper break into the base that is in the Upside Down, and they get go face to face with Dr. K and kind of attack her and kind of get a little bit of information out of her and figure out what they're trying to do. And this is where we get that big reveal of who is in this vault that they're keeping. And it is, let me click to the episode because I forget what the number is, but I think she is number 8. Yes, in the vault that they have captured is number 8, another kid that was part of 11's group that we do see in previous seasons that they call each other sister. I'm not sure if they're actual sister or that's what they just call each other, but that is who is captured in this little vault thing, who I'm not sure if they're using her for their own benefit or they're trying to study her or trying to figure something out, because she is obviously very, very powerful enough for 11 to think that Vecna was the one that was in there. So I'm sure they're using her somehow to fight against Vecna at this point. But the reason for them having her there, we are not sure yet. But that is the big reveal. Vecna was not in that little kind of cage or room that they kind of had her in, the little vault area. It was number 8. And so that was very exciting to see that, to see her kind of get brought back, and seeing what her implications of the story is going to be is going to be very exciting for sure in the future. But then at this point, the other side, on the right side up, they have gotten pretty much caught, and the military is starting to fight them and trying to take the kids back, and they're arresting them, but not before the Demogorgons unleash havoc on this little military base. There's like 10 Demogorgons ripping through the doors and concrete, making portals and fighting and killing all these soldiers. Such a great epic moment. It's one of the best moments in Stranger Things overall, in all across all seasons. And we also get Vecna coming out and looking for Will and kind of telling him a little bit why Will was taken in the first place. And we do get a little glimpse. I'm not sure we're going to get more reason why Will was the first one to be taken by Vecna, but we do get a little bit of that reason of seeing what he could have done, trying to see how easy it is to break every individual kid to use him for his own benefits. And Will was basically kind of like test number 1 to see how easy it was to take a kid, break him, use his powers for his own benefits. And now he wants to pretty much do that exponentially and take a ginormous amount of kids and do whatever he wants to do with them, which not too sure exactly what he's trying to do yet or what the purpose is and why kids, but that is essentially what his plan is at the moment. And after that, we get one of the best Will moments of all time, where he taps in to his powers, into Vecna's powers, however it works, and essentially does like the bone breaking thing that we've seen him do to like Chrissy and partly to Max, to like 4 Demogorgons at the same time, and was absolutely jaw dropping awesome. I'm so excited what they're going to do with that, with Will's powers in the coming future, because that was absolutely epic, and I'm very, very excited on what's to come once we do get the rest of this season. But that is pretty much a small breakdown of every individual episode of kind of what happened. I didn't go into exactly everything beat for beat, but as a whole, I think the season has started off very, very strong. We've had some hiccups, some speed bumps along the way with like certain conveniences, episodes that felt like they weren't really going anywhere, that were kind of just meandering. We had a certain dialogue that just felt a little weird and awkward. There's things here that don't make this a perfect season, but as of right now, if they continue going the way that they're going with this season, this show will be solidified as one of the best shows of all time for sure. And let's go over some predictions. There's certain people that I think are still going to die, even after seeing all these stuff. I think 11 might still die, and I think Steve might still die. Those are my 2 big predictions of who will die in this season. If you watch the show, you might disagree with me in that aspect, but I do still feel like that is the case in what is going to happen in this stuff, because I do think, just to go get a little bit detail of why I think that, I do think for 11 to defeat Vecna, I think she needs to use all of her powers to destroy Vecna and destroy the Upside Down once and for all. And I think that will completely drain her, and she might just die from that aspect. And then Steve is mainly more so just because I feel like he's such a protective figure. He might sacrifice himself to save Dustin or Mike or Will, because I feel like he wants to. He's definitely that protective figure, and we've seen that multiple times throughout the couple of older seasons. And I still feel like that is something that could happen, and him kind of redeeming himself from season one, where everybody thought he was kind of just a douchebag, to him sacrificing at the end. I feel like that would be a wonderful character arc for him. So I do still think that is something that would happen to Steve. So those are my two biggest predictions in terms of death. In terms of what we're going for in terms of the story, not sure. I do think that they are going to be able to get into Vecna's base here pretty soon in the next episode or two. Um, which I don't remember how many more episodes are going to be. I think like another four or so. So I think in the next episode or two, I think we are going to see Vecna or them kind of breaking into that giant wall on Vecna's base, essentially. I think we are getting pretty close to that because we're exponentially increasing the stakes here and the powers and things that are going on, as they keep kind of bringing up that we do not have much time left. Vecna is exponentially taking more and more kids. He is trying to finish his plan as soon as possible. So we are in a big rush here. So I'm not sure where they're heading for, but I do think in the next couple of episodes we will see them going face to face with Vecna. If it's going to be them breaking into his base, which I do think they're going to break into that wall, or him coming back out and going face to face with Will, I'm not sure. I do not think Will is going to die this season. I think he is going to be the one that is saving the day. As much as people want to say that Eleven is the main character, because since the first season, I do think this entire show has been about Will the entire time. He has always been the main focal point, whether he's been on screen or not. This entire show has been about Will. So him being the one to, gain his powers and save the day, I think would be a great ending for that character as well. So let me know what you guys think about Stranger Things season 5 so far. Let me know what you guys think about the entire show as a whole. Join that conversation in the comment section down below. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. But again, if you guys like talking about movies, TV show, video game related, or just anything nerdy, you are in the right place. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.